Hello friends, this is Parvez and I welcome to all of you on my channel Global Studies Aspirants. And today, as you can see on your computer screen, friends, we're gonna talk about Roland Barthes, and the time period is 1915 to 1918. Okay, and further, this part is related to literary and cultural theory, and those students who are preparing for NAT examinations, this topic is very important for those. Right, okay, let's get into the first one slide over here. And first of all, let's talk about the life introduction of Roland Barthes. He's a very important writer, critic, philosopher for as per NAT examination, NAT perspective. Okay, let's talk about further the basic idea. Roland Barthes was a popular figure in literary theory, as you know, all friends, and he was a structuralism. First of all, he was a structuralism, and also he belongs to the post structuralism as well. So you can say that he belongs to both structuralism as well as post structuralism. Fine. And further, his early works inspired by structuralism ideas, because what we can say over here that his early works related to structuralism and the later works related to post structuralism. So for example, death of the author gesture at his post structuralist sympathy. Fine. And the second one paragraph over here, friends, Roland Barthes was a French philosopher, as you know. Okay, he was a writer, critic, theorist, and semiotician. Okay, reading a short story by Balzac. He was also a writer from France. The name was Balzac, and he wrote a very good short story, or you can say a very fine, interesting story, Saracen. Okay, and after reading the story, this here Barthes is inspired by this story, and he wrote a famous work as oblique jar. Right, Barthes is identified here in this work 561 units of meaning, or what he called the lexias. Okay, and after that Barthes proposed these units in the five groups, or you can say five codes. And as you know, friends, we all these codes are very famous, and we can also say these are Barthes codes. Fine, so let's talk about these codes. First of all, friends, the first one code is proetic code, and according this code, in this narrative, all the events happen in a systematic way. You can say every event or story would be happened in a systematic way. Fine. Or if one special event happens, then after that even the next would be relevant. If suppose one event is gonna be happen, then after that the next relevant event would be happen. Okay, in simple words, this happened and then this happened. If this happened, then only after that happened. Okay, this code governs our expectations of narrative. If this happened, then this must certainly happen. Okay, so here this kind of narrative you can understand by periodic code. Okay, and let's talk about the next one code, friends. This is hermeneutic code. Let's go through this. And here you can say this is a question like interrogative type code. This is the code that informs our interpretation and question. We can ask question that way what we ask to the narrative. For example, what happened, how, and why, or by whom. So in simple words, like we are getting some information, we are searching for some information that we here, that is called hermeneutic code. Okay, and the next one here, the third one, cultural code. Cultural code is very simple. This is the code that narrative assumes we all share it as common knowledge. Suppose you belong to a specific community, okay, or group, then does not require to explain. Suppose it may be a medical, for example, it may be a medical, literary, or symbolic, everything. Okay, for example, let's take one example over here, friends. If someone says that during the Raj things were very different, so what does the Raj means over here? It means that every Indian understand very well what does it mean, Raj. Okay, the time when Indians suffered a lot and they were ruled by the English people, the most Indian would immediately understand the term Raj without making any sort of explanation. Okay, you must be getting, friends, I thought. And now let's talk about the semi-code. First of all, this is the fourth code, and this code is similar to the cultural code. Suppose when we see a man wearing a white kurta and pajama and Gandhi topi, so what we think about that man? That he may be a politician. Okay, a kind of stereotype that is a self-evident and self-descriptive. Okay, you don't need to explain. On the other hand, here semi-code requires the explanation. Here what we need to explain. Okay, but in the case of cultural code we don't need to explain. When the person comes from outside the community, if in case the person comes from outside the community, only in that scenario we need to explain. All right. And now let's talk about the next one code. It's the fifth one, last one, symbolic code. And you know what, friends, this is very similar to the semi-code. For example, when we see a horror film and in that we find empty streets and moonlight, through which we assume that it is night. And here, as per the semi-code, okay, what we guess? We guess that it may be a dangerous condition, because as per behalf of our previous experience, we drawn upon previous experience, and on that behalf, on that experience which have been seen in horror films by us, then we expect that something is gonna be happen, something dangerous would be or could be happen over here, right? Because this is known as a symbolic code. First of all, let's for example, through if we predict about the good and bad notion, for example, let's suppose we when we see a film, okay, if there is night and empty streets and there's some awkward or some ferocious sounds you can hear, that you can imagine further that something bad maybe happened. Or in case if you see a good day, good gesture, then you can predict that something nice would be happen. So it's a kind of symbolic code, what we can say, what we can assume over here, friends. I think you must have got the complete idea, friends. And now let's talk about the Roland Barthes works, famous works and terms, and all are would be discussed in chronology. In chronology, as per the chronological order. Okay. Fine, let's talk about the first one, the Writing Degree Zero. It was published in 1953, and Writing Degree Zero is a kind of work where you can understand this. A writer wanna say something, we have to predict something or from the work. Okay, that there is no expectation, no definite meaning, that you have to assume that the writing has been written on a simple way, on a degree zero. Okay, so it is a kind of, you can say, structuralist work. Belongs to structuralism work. And the second one, mythologies, that was written in 1957. And friends, 54 short essays about French culture, ये जो है, this is 54 short essays, यहाँ पर 54 short essays were written by Roland Barthes, which shows all these essays of the French culture, French lifestyle. Okay, so here is all about, this work is all about. All right. And now this work came again 1963 on racing. You can go through this. And after that, one more work, friends, was published in 1964. Critical Essage. It was the critical essage, and then the Eiffel Tower and other mythologies in 1964. So all these work are showing as per the chronological order. And the death of the author, this is very very most important work, friends, came in 1968. What does it mean, death of the, it means, suppose when a writer writes a work, then at that point of time writer assumes that here the death of author. Now everything would be depend on the reader point of view, because after that it is a work of the reader, what kind of interpretation, what kind of prediction, imagination would be done as per the reader point of view or reader end. So the author, at that point time, author do not concern himself to the reader. So it's all about reader, what kind of narratology, what kind of narrative he further develops. Okay, this kind of narrative, or this kind of things are shown in this work, and this is very famous. And then Shahjahan in 1970 was published. Okay, and in this work, Barth is said about the constructive role of a reader, as I told you earlier. Okay, in the same like reading text in the form of clue, you have to search a clue, reader have to search a clue, that in between of the writing works, what next may be the proper meaning of this text, most important work again. And here, then Empire of Science in 1970. And in this Empire of Science works, friends, the two big important term was developed, was derived. That first one is known as doxa term, What does it mean, friends? Further, doxa means there is a common language. If suppose some people or some group of people are using speaking common language, that is called as doxa. And what about the paradoxa? Paradoxa means, what does you mean, friends? What do you mean, friends, over here by paradoxa? It's suppose it is also a term, and it's suppose like if we are using a specific language that is not common, that is difficult to understand or difficult to that is called as paradoxa. Okay. And again, the work, the pleasure of the text, 1975, most important work here. What does it mean, pleasure of text? When suppose some writer, author writes a work, and the reader, when reader reads that work, he feels very nice, very good, and he completely lost in the feelings in the text, in the work. Okay. He heartily, mentally connected, mentally or heartily, both, in both way, he completely connected to that work, and he lost himself in that work. That is known as complete the pleasure of that text. It may be humorous, it may be social, or it may be educational, it may be any kind of subject, or any kind of topic may be included in that kind of works or text. So this is known as, this is the, you can say, or this is the mentality, or this is the a kind of gesture, a kind of narrative has been included in this work, the pleasure of the text. You must be getting, friends. Okay. And further, here, this is the term, this term was definitely derived by the pleasure of the text. You can pronounce this was joyance. Joyance terms, it means in jollity, merriment, jolliness, happiness, when we feel happiness, greatness, pleasure. Okay. And that's why this name was sad, that pleasure of the text. Then we feel extreme pleasure, extreme happiness by reading any kind of text. It may be entertain you, it may make you a very pleasure. Okay. In very pleasant condition, it makes happiness for you. Okay. It bring a great pleasure moment, great happiness. Okay. And great feeling, you can entertain yourself. Okay. So what I mean to say over here, the complete enjoyment. Okay. You can say in simple words, the pleasure of the text. So let's talk further over here. And then let's talk about the friends, readerly text and writerly text. These are also terms, friends, given by Barthes, and these terms derived from the work Sage. As I told you earlier, these terms are taken from the us oblique jar. Is very important work. Fine. And image music text. This work came in 1977. This is very important work again, friends. And the term work and text from the image music text. These are also term work and text. What is work? Work means, suppose if you have completed any work, you have performed a task work, and now there is nothing to predict. There is nothing left to predict or to imagine by the reader point of view or reader, and that is called as work. But what about text? Text is something, suppose you have you have written a work in form of text, and after that it may be predict, so many meanings can be derived from your text. Suppose you are writing a perfect piece of literature, and further that there are different philosopher and different linguistics, they predict that work, they analyze that work in their words, in their mentality, and further they extend them. they uh, they further extend that, and they analyze that. Okay. They test that, and again they take different meaning of your work. That is called as a free open source, like that is free to open. Okay. That may be modified, that may be altered, that is called as text. And the work which is arbitrary, there is no chance. Okay. There is no option left that may be modified or altered, that is called as work. So this is the basically difference between these two terms. Okay. So hopefully, friends, this writer is very famous, and last time in examination, net examination, two question has been asked from this writer, and there is a chronology of questions that you were supposed to set the chronology, though your work were supposed to set in chronological as per year wise chronology were given. And the second work, this image music text were given, this the second question were asked in the UGC net examination. There were three questions from Edward said, and the one question from Roland Barthes. It was asked that which one word has not been written by the Edward said, and the image music test were given over there. So image music, have, if you would have gone through these Roland Barthes works, so definitely those candidates who would have gone through these Roland Barthes works, they definitely would have selected these work, image music text. So this is very very important writer, very very, you can say, significant writer as per the net examination, UGC net examination. So hopefully if you really like this video, friends, please do not forget to like our channel and subscribe to your friend circle. And that's all for today. I will meet you again with the next one video. Till then, bye, and thank you for watching this video.